Hi friends, it's me Ali, your friendly neighborhood Chanel expert. So today I am inspired by Les Beiges. Now this year for the Les Beiges collection, there is no new eyeshadow palette. And a few days ago, we talked about the 9 shadow palette that came out a couple of years ago. This was so popular and well loved, and I had a few of you ask me to do some swatch comparisons with other palettes that I have, other singles. So we're going to do sort of a breakdown of either palettes or singles you could cobble together to recreate-ish this beautiful 9 shadow palette. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. So here is a swatch of this beautiful 9 shadow palette here. So this is really just a beautiful neutral collection. They did not reinvent the wheel, but we have matte, we have satin, and sort of shimmery finishes too. So that's what we're going to try to recreate. I don't have a single palette that's going to touch every single color here, but there are certain colors and textures that I think we can try to recreate. So first up, I'm going to dive into other Les Beiges palettes. This one here is called Deep. I'm wearing Deep today with a liquid eyeshadow single. I really like Deep. Obviously it has some golds here, but I think this one here has a beautiful soft matte finish. Like the mattes in here are beautiful and very buttery, and they do remind me of the 9 shadow palette, so that could be a good dupe for you. So this here, this is Deep. The mattes are buttery and smooth, and they do remind me of the mattes from the 9 shadow palettes. This is very gold, very warm, so you're not going to get as many cool colors in it, but today I'm basically just wearing all 3 mattes. I went with these 2 in the crease, and then the darker color just in the outer corner, and then a liquid shadow. This one here is called Rayon. I'm going to touch on this in a minute, but just in the inner corner here. So I think texture-wise, this one here is pretty identical, which makes sense because it's still a Les Beiges palette. And I also have the Les Beiges Intense. Now you may be thinking Intense, Deep, that kind of sounds the same. So this is Intense, this is Deep here. It kind of looks similar just really quickly, but this one here, there's a dark color that almost looks more khaki, and this one here, Intense, is much more satiny. So here is a little swatch corner here of Intense. The finish is much more satiny, shimmery. There is one matte, it's this dark color over here, but it has a bit of green, especially if you look at it compared to some of the other browns. It has like a deep khaki olive tone to it, so the color story feels much more different than the 9 shadow palette. I would go with Deep here personally if I was trying to recreate it. I know it's a little bit different, but we're not going to find an exact dupe. These are just inspirations, and I will actually go ahead and talk about some other brands as well. So the first one here is from Dior, and I do hesitate in mentioning this because this is the older formula here from 2020. I know there's a new formulation here, but this is Soft Cashmere, which I think of as a really perfect neutral palette. I think that there are tones here that could be similar to the 9 shadow palette. Soft Cashmere definitely hits more neutral, more cool as well. So it has a balance of matte, but then more satiny and shimmery. And this one over here is a topper shade, so it's not super spectacular. But I don't know, I guess in my mind, I thought it would be a bit closer to some of the more cool shades, but it almost looks purple and blue. It's so cool compared to everything we have going on here. So perhaps not Soft Cashmere unless you really just want a cool neutral palette. But there's another one here called Poncho, which is definitely more neutral, warm leaning. And I think this one, it has a good matte, good mix of matte and satin. So this one could work. Here we have Poncho here. It has a topper shade that sort of looks invisible, but this one here, Poncho, is going to be much more subtle, much softer. It's not as cool. So this could hit your neutral, warm, leaning receptors. I feel like it does have, I'm not seeing any dupes, to be honest. I'm not seeing a perfect swatch dupe here, but I think there is something there. Like, I think you could be happy with Poncho, but it's not going to be the exact same as the 9 Shadow palette. Okay, so moving on to Tom Ford. I have the Nude Dip palette. Now, hear me out. There are some beautiful cool tone satin shimmery colors in the 9 Shadow palette that I think might be recreated in Nude Dip. But Nude Dip is all satin or shimmer finishes. There's no mattes in here. That being said, it is one of my go-to cool neutral palettes. So this is Nude Dip over here. I had to switch hands because I'm running out of real estate. But my idea was this one here and like these two and this third one over here, I think have some similarities in Nude Dip. It's not a perfect dupe by any means, but there's something there. I think we're getting a little bit warmer and finding a dupe here. But yeah, I think this could work. And the dark color in Nude Dip is much cooler. I think the ones in the 9 Shadow palette were warmer or more neutral, but this could work. Now we have a bunch of singles, and I think maybe the singles is where it's at because you could just cobble together your 9 Shadow palette with a bunch of singles. Let's start off with the Ombre Première Lac. This is a liquid eyeshadow. It comes with a little doe foot applicator like this. This is the shade Rayon. That's the one that I'm wearing in the inner corner. And fun fact, this is glass. So be very careful if you drop it, it can shatter. I think I had a subscriber tell me that there was like a eyeshadow related disaster that happened in her bathroom. So just be careful. So this one here, I really like the combination of the Dupes Les Beiges palette and Rayon, just in the inner corner here. Just like, it looks so beautiful. It's waterproof. These liquid eyeliners, or eyeshadows I should say, they don't move. So do one eye at a time because once this dries, it does not move at all. So I think this one, it hits a little bit of this and this here. Again, not like a total perfect dupe, but I think there's some similarity in here. So yeah, that could work. I like that one. There's also this one from Armani. This is number, I don't know the number, but I remember it's called Cold Copper. Now, I really like the Armani Wands because they're more narrow, they're more pointed. And I don't know if you can see, but technically in the center, this is hollow. So you actually get less product on the wand. So you don't go like this as much. And so you just control a bit more of how much product goes on the applicator here. So this one here is a beautiful, like wet looking highlighter eyeshadow color. It's a little bit less intense. It's less pink, less champagne. It's called Cold Copper, and it kind of gives you that molten copper eye color here. It's really pretty. It's also waterproof, very long wearing. Basically, as soon as you apply it, it sets in place, and it almost looks taupey compared to Rayon. Rayon looks much more intense. This one here almost looks more natural as a liquid eyeshadow. And then I also have this Chanel liquid eyeshadow called Desert Wind. I don't know, I was just thinking, I don't know if it's gonna match anything here, but it's a beautiful single color that kind of hits in that neutral-ish wearing makeup. I can't really tell. This is Desert Wind over here, and you can sheer it out or make it a bit more intense. I don't think it matches anything in the 9 Shadow palette, but you could do something with it. And sometimes I wear it as a smoky eye because if you do one swipe, it's very sheer, but then you can build it up to be almost like a grayish taupey color. So that could work. Next up are just regular powder eyeshadow singles. This one here is from Chanel as well, and this one here is called Taupe. It's a beautiful, like neutral taupe color, and I think this one it's beautiful on its own. This is like a one and done color for me, but you could layer it with some of these colors here. You could almost mix, I don't know, maybe I would mix the Armani one with this. Like, it has like a sort of taupey taupey color. It has a satin finish. It's very beautiful. Is it replacing anything in particular in the 9 Shadow palette? unclear, but if you're just sort of looking to build a neutral eye look, I think Taupe is good. And Taupe is a one and done. You can apply this with some liner and mascara and be out the door. Next up here is from Dior, and this single is called Nude Dress. The packaging is limited edition, but the shade and the finish is permanent. So Nude Dress is like a beautiful satin finish single eyeshadow. This is Nude Dress here. It's definitely more bronzy gold. It's not as neutral or cool. And so it does I don't know, it doesn't match exactly. It kind of looks like this color here. This is a matte, but Nude Dress has more satin to it. It's sort of hard to make them be completely side by side here, but I think, yeah, there's some similarities. I'm not finding a lot of perfect dupes for the mattes. The mattes are really nice. I think if you want a perfect dupe of the mattes, you should get the Dupes Les Beiges palette. That's the one that's the closest because it matches Les Beiges. But I have a couple of mattes here from Sisley. These are all Sisley singles, and the first one here is called Matte Taupe. So we have this one here. It almost looks purpley or gray. So here is Matte Taupe. I had to remove all my bracelets here today just to swatch everything. Matte Taupe reminds me of the deep matte here. I don't know, there are these mattes over here, but I think Matte Taupe almost looks more gray compared to everything else here. It's not really matching completely, but the texture is nice. It's not the exact same texture. It's not quite as buttery, but it's still nice. Moving on to Matte Cocoa. This one is a much deeper, richer, it looks like it's going to be more chocolatey of a brown. So let's go ahead and swatch this one next. Here is Matte Cocoa. Interestingly enough, the texture of Matte Cocoa feels a little bit different. It feels more buttery, and this one here reminds me of, it looks like it's a mixture of some of the mattes from the Nine Shadow palette. Yeah, I think that would be a good matte. If you want to get a single matte to match here, get Matte Cocoa. That's a good one just by itself. And then we have one final single here from Sisley as well. This is Sparkling Topaz. This is one of my favorite single eyeshadows. This is a beautiful standalone. You could mix it with some of the other ones we've mentioned, but this is a gorgeous standalone, especially for summer. It's beautiful. It gives that J.Lo glow type of makeup look. So here is Sparkling Topaz. It has a beautiful satin finish, but you know, it's not like a chunky glitter. Even if you have more mature eyelids, you would still enjoy it. It's really beautiful, very buttery, very seamless. You could mix it with this one here in the crease, or honestly, I wear it by itself. Does it have a perfect dupe? Hold on, give me a second here. I would say it's maybe hitting over in this corner here of the shimmers, but I don't know. I feel like Sparkling Topaz, it's unique on its own and sort of stands alone in its beautifulness, or its beauty. Beautifulness, that's not a word, it's beauty. But yeah, this is what I got. These are the shadows that I think could scratch your itch if you don't have the Nine Shadow palette, or if you have it but you want similar colors, because oftentimes we just end up sort of enjoying and indulging in the same shades over and over again. I think we are all guilty of that. Now I can go ahead and take a shower in some makeup remover to remove all my swatches. Let me know in the comments what you think of this video, if this was helpful. Let me know if you still have the Nine Shadow palette and like the original Les Beiges. And if you have any eyeshadow recommendations to replace it, whether it's singles or palettes or what have you, let us know what you're using at home. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I talk about nothing but luxury beauty. So I highly recommend that you subscribe to my channel, because I like to use and reuse some of my permanent older collection, mix it in with some new stuff, you know, sort of mix and match, and give you lots of ideas on how to use up what you already own, which I think you enjoy. So anyway, make sure you hit subscribe, and yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.